Welcome to Secret Story. Dear friends, thank you very much for watching. Leave comments, put likes, share with friends and subscribe to the channel. Our family is a very close family, always finding an excuse to get together to have a party or some sort of celebration. At one party I got talking with my Uncle Jack, on my father's side, as I'd only just celebrated my 18th. He'd wanted to know what I'd spent all my money on. But I gave him a little of a shock and told him I'd spent most on a games console. Why the hell did you do that? Well, I'm more into gaming than anything else, and didn't see the point in getting drunk on one night as it would been a waste. Well, there is that. So what games did you get? Oh, just two, couldn't afford the third as it had just been released. This conversation went on for a while, but he told me that if I called round to his place I could borrow some of his games. I thought, oh great, least I'll be able to have a game on something else other than the two I'd played to death on. So a few days later I told my parents I was just nipping up to Uncle Jack's and shouldn't be too long. It didn't take too long to get there as he only lived up the street. Knocked on the door, but when the door opened my Aunt May stood there. Her hair was a little messed up and looked a little tired. That I should point out that Aunt May, even at 42, was a great-looking woman. With all the gym time she spent, she never let her figure go out of shape. Oh, hi Ash, how are you? I'm fine, Aunt May, just come to see Uncle Jack as he said I could borrow some of his games. Sorry, but he's out at the moment, but you're happy to have a look through them. I walked in and asked what she was up to with her hair in a mess. She explained that she was just cleaning up some cupboards and found a load of old board games that the kids used to play. When we walked into the living room it was a complete mess. Now I could see why she was a mess. Games all over and boxes falling off each other. Would you like a hand cleaning all this up, Aunt May? Would you mind, as some of the games are all messed up and I've no idea where all the bits go with each game? We sat down and I was figuring out all the boxes and game parts and was able to remember them all, as I think most of the time I used to play some of these games when we used to come up to their house. Then I got to one box, which is the old game of Twister. I haven't seen this one in a long time. What's that one, Ash? Twister. I remember playing this one with Kirsty and Carl, always kept getting our legs mixed up. I miss that. Kirsty and Carl were Aunt May and Uncle Jack's 17-year-old twins. Carl and I used to hang out a lot, but then when he discovered girls he'd be out every day or night, and Kirsty used to act like one of the lads, until she got to high school. That's when she took up football. So we hardly ever saw each other except at the family get-togethers. Anyway, we got all the games sorted out and I went over to when the games console was to have a look through all the games my uncle had got. It was a big collection, from the latest games that just been released to some old classics. He was as mad at gaming as I was, maybe even more. But I picked out two games that I liked the look of and was just about to go into the kitchen where my Aunt May was making a cuppa when she walked back in with two drinks. Here you go, Ash, you deserve it for all the hard work you've put in with helping me. It would have taken me even longer if you haven't have come round. Oh, it was a pleasure, saves me going home and getting my jobs done. I laughed back. I hope I won't upset your mother. I'll let her know how much of a help you've been. So we sat down on the couch drinking and chatting away. I was telling her about how much I'd enjoyed the party we'd had and I couldn't wait to start some real work, as all the job hunting was taking its time on me. But explained that I'd just got a new job at the local gym where she used to go. Ah, I hope I'll get a discount then from my favorite nephew. While placing her hand on my leg, smiling back, I just told her I would see what I could do for her. With that I was just about finished with my drink and Aunt May got up and asked if I wanted to have a quick go at one of the new games my uncle had just bought. I thought sure, why not, so she turned the console on and put a camera up on the TV. It was one of these games that tracked your every move and placed you in the game. I'd never played this type of game before and was interested in how it worked. So Aunt May got me to stand at the side of her and I could see her waving at the screen. Up came the game and we were supposed to be on some racetrack against one another. She must have been playing this game a lot as she was way out in front of me and I was having a hard time catching her up. So I started to nudge her a little so she would lose a little balance. This would cause her car to slow down. I just looked at her with a cheeky grin. Oh, we playing dirty tactics are we? Well, it's fair game in love and war, see ya. With that I drove right past her. She did not like that and got back up and pushed me out the way, causing my car to slow down. There we are pushing and shoving each other while trying to race against one another. When all of a sudden I could see the finish line, then noticed in the corner of my eye she was about to bash me hard. I leaned back to slow my car down and she flew right past me straight into the couch. With a laugh I drove over the finish line. Yes. Got ya, Aunt May. Still laid out on the couch laughing her head off, I reached down, then a hard pull on my arms yanked me down, falling. Laughing and giggling she said, "Now I got you that time." Looking right into her eyes. But I'd have to go soon as it was getting close to having some lunch. "Oh, don't be silly, you can have lunch here if you want, that you'd be keeping me company until your uncle gets back." So thought nothing of it and told her if that was alright I'd stay. "Hey, I've got an idea, why don't you set that old game up that you found?" "What, Twister?" "Yay, I haven't played that in years either and I remember it was great fun." While Aunt May went back into the kitchen to start getting lunch ready, I grabbed hold of the game and set it up. I remember it being far bigger than this when I was a kid, but I guess everything seems bigger when you're a kid. Aunt May walked back in and looked at me with a huge smile when she spotted it was all ready. Placing lunch on the table, she walked over to me and grabbed hold of the spinner. "Right, Ash, I'm the eldest, I'm taking charge of this." Spinning the arrows, she told me right leg on red. Next she got a left leg on yellow. This went on for a while and got a little mixed up, as you normally do with this game. My aunt at one end of the game and me on the other side, but our legs was a complete mix. She freed her hand and spun the arrows. This time I had to move my whole body and put one of my hands over her to place on blue. Only trouble was that when I tried reaching over I lost a little balance. It felt firm to the touch, but I was a little shocked. Placing my hand on the blue circle, I only just managed it without falling. Worse was yet to come. She spun again and was told left hand red, which was near me. She moved her hand and I don't know if she did it on purpose or what. But her hand knocked into my hand and I slipped and lost all balance, falling. If only someone were to walk in right this minute. Aunt May laughed. That was the moment I feared that I had to try and get up. Then Aunt May moved her legs. What the was she doing? "Oh, you're not going anywhere, lad." I tried moving, but she had very strong legs and her grip was like a huge pair of handcuffs. "Had enough of struggling, Ash?" "Yes, I'm exhausted. You've got some strength in those legs. The workouts I do down at the gym with the personal trainer does pay off, you know, but enough about that. I want to know what you'll do for me to let go." "Well, I've already helped you clean up, what more can I do?" "There's one job I think you'd be good enough at." "And what is that, Aunt May?" "Giving me a workout." Another part of me was thinking, what if Uncle Jack walks in? "What's wrong, Ash? Don't want?" "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes you do, don't tell lies, I've seen the way you look at my figure." "Well, what you expect when you look the way you do?" She ready for what was to become an exhausting workout. I had only gone round to borrow a few games from my uncle, but discovered my Aunt May was on her own. I'd been helping her clean some games up and it got a little out of hand after playing some of the games. I looked into her eyes, but I wasn't going to stop here. It was now or never. "Well, I'll tell you, I'm not letting you go, not after that performance." After that session we just laid there on the floor forgetting that but things got a little out of hands a month into our affair as she called my work and again got called back, which the boss wasn't happy about. But once I got round there, what a sight that was. I off when I heard the door go, we both looked at each other with a "who's that" look. Next we heard a voice call out, "Hey babe, I'm home early, got the afternoon off, so get ready for some games." It was my uncle, and here's me just standing in front of his wife. Then it sounded like he was looking around the house for her, which gave us the time to sort ourselves out. My Aunt May quickly put her clothes back on and I just stood there watching the stairs waiting for him to start walking up. When I saw his head just come around the corner I dived into their bedroom. She then pointed to a stood at the side of the bedroom. "Grab that quick and stand on it to that cupboard," she whispered. So without any thought I did what I was told and opened the door up to find some boxes. Looked back at her and she waved her hand to tell me to stop for a moment. We both heard my uncle to hitting the top of the stairs and then she waved now. With that my uncle opened the door and I grabbed some of the boxes and put them on the bed. "Hey gorgeous, how's you? Oh hi Ash, didn't know you were here." "Oh yes darling, he's just come round to give me a hand with those boxes I wanted to get rid of. I told you I was going to sort them out." "Yeah, but we all know how long it takes you to sort things out and Ash had some spare time." "Oh okay. The place of your Ash gives you a hell a lot of time off." I just laughed and said it was the best job I'd come across. With that my aunt gave me a wink and smile. I told him that I get a lot of benefits too with being able to have a really good workout. My aunt laughed but my uncle just turned round and looked at her strangely. "What you laughing at babes?" "Well it is a sports center." "Well that's true babe, okay I'll go down and get something to eat while you help your aunt." With that my uncle walked out the bedroom and went downstairs. I jumped down off the stool and went over to my aunt with my heart pounding. That was bloody close. "Oh and we haven't finished yet. Aunt May uncle is just downstairs." I know, makes it more exciting doesn't it? But he could come walking back up anytime. That's the whole point, we could be doing it and he's just downstairs. It was the best sight I'd seen in a long time and made even better knowing that we could get caught anytime. "Do you want a sandwich you two?" my uncle shouted up. Yes please uncle." "Yes, make sure you use the old butter and no the new one," my aunt shouted down to him. I was worried that my voice would croak when I answer him or that he would come upstairs and ask. But thankfully he stayed downstairs. Aunt May looked up at me and with a wink she said, "You know what I really want don't you?" "Yeah I do, but we can't, he's just downstairs. So it'll be more exciting." "Yeah I know that but what if he comes upstairs with the sandwiches?" "I can easily to solve that." "Darling, don't bother bringing the sandwiches up, we'll come down for them, we're nearly finished." "Oh okay no problem, I'll leave them on the table for you both." "Right Ash, that's that bit sorted now for the second." Looking at her with a puzzled look, I wondered what she was going to do. Then she went over to a chair, picked it up and put it behind the door so if my uncle came up and tried to handle it would jam against it. I just thought brilliant idea, but I still wasn't sure about this. As if there was any noise my uncle would hear it and me up like a shot. "Are you two all right up there?" my uncle shouted. "We're fine. Ash just fell into the drawers but he's all right, we'll be down in a moment." "Oh okay babe." I didn't know he could have heard that. But Aunt May wasn't bothered, I'd forgotten that my uncle was just downstairs, especially when I've got this view. Then without any warning I got a huge shock, was in complete shock herself, then started to laugh. I've not done that in years. I don't care, I've seen it on videos but never experienced it. If my uncle were to come in now shit would hit the fan as they say. After 2 minutes, my aunt told me that I should fix myself up and go downstairs before my uncle decided to come and look for us. I got myself sorted out, took the chair away from the door and gave my aunt a wink before going downstairs. When I got into the living room where my uncle was sat at the table eating his sandwich, he looked up and smiled at me. "Ah, I wondered what you guys were up to." "Yeah, Aunt May just needed me to shift that chest of drawers to the side as she thought she'd dropped something behind it." I couldn't believe it, my brain had actually kicked in and I lied through my teeth to my uncle. Within 5 minutes in came my aunt and with a huge smile on her face, sitting down at the table and began eating. "So did you get everything sorted then babe?" "Oh yes, I can definitely say that I'm completely satisfied now we've sorted it." "Oh that's good, thanks Ash, least you've given me one less job to do." Aunt May and I just looked at each other and we both knew that we were laughing inside at that comment. To be continued, copyright 2024, all rights reserved. No part of this story can be reproduced in any form or by any electronic or mechanical means without written permission from the author. All characters are fictitious, and any similarity to actual people, living or dead, events, or locales is entirely coincidental unless otherwise state. Dear friends, thank you very much for watching. Leave comments, put likes, share with friends and subscribe to the channel. Story 2, welcome to Secret Story. It was my best friend's house party at a new place that he and his fiancée had moved into. It was a chill night where the drinks and smokes kept everyone high. My boyfriend was with me and I had a good chill session after a long time. I was planning to stay the night at their place before going back home. There were a couple of new people, but the rest were friends or people I knew but were not exactly close with. Tyler came and left with his girlfriend. Jack, my boyfriend's friend, also left. I asked my boyfriend to stay and he said he would. Feeling sleepy and too drunk and high, I followed my best friend, Robert, towards the guest bedroom and lay down on the bed. The party was coming to an end pretty early and I was looking forward to my boyfriend joining me in bed. What I didn't know was that my boyfriend had already left to go home. His friend, David, however, was too drunk to drive back. Robert managed to convince him to stay the night and took him to the guest room. What Robert had forgotten in his inhibited state was that I was already in that room. He and his fiancée retired for the night and David locked the door before stripping down to his boxers and slipping into bed beside me. When the bed creaked beneath his weight, I smiled and reached for him. He came willingly into my touch. I don't know if he knew it was me that was in the bed, but I certainly didn't know it was him. Maybe he thought I had planned it or it was his lucky night. Either way, I felt his lips fall on my chin in the darkness that enveloped us. My head tilted to the side and our lips found each other's. I kissed him deeply. If I was sober I would have realized how toned my boyfriend suddenly seemed, but having not been intimate with him in a rather long time, everything felt a little different, but as good or even better than I remembered. "I need you," I gasped out. I watched him nod his head above me. "Get it," I said. I watched him move away from me and reach for his wallet. It was dark enough that all I could see was his silhouette and not his face, or else I would have realized that the man I was inviting to enter me was not my boyfriend. He moved back towards me. He moved slowly at first, then quicker, picking up the pace. The bed rocked beneath us and I panicked, thinking Robert and his fiancée could hear us. "Stop, stop. Go slower," I whispered frantically. And he kept going. I never remembered the last time my boyfriend had that much energy. By the time we came back down from the high, our breathing was heavy and erratic. I was the first to break the silence. "I need to use the washroom," I breathed out. He nodded and slowly slid out of me. I let out a sigh and got out of bed. I moved towards the attached bathroom. By the time I was out, I saw his silhouette lying down on the bed. I slipped into bed beside him and he stirred. He pulled me into his body and I welcomed his warm embrace. I fell asleep almost instantly and didn't wake up until a couple of hours later when he went to the bathroom. I stirred when he came back to bed. He pressed kisses along my cheek, causing me to giggle sleepily. "Go back to sleep, baby," I cooed softly. "I want you," he rasped out in a low voice near my ear. I was still tired but slowly waking up. "Already awake for me?" I asked teasingly. "Do you have more?" I asked, hoping he hadn't brought just one. He nodded his head and handed me the packet. I leaned down to kiss him and that was when a lightning bolt bolted through the sky, illuminating the room slightly. I caught sight of his face and froze. Just as I dropped my eyes, could see his face, not that clearly, but I could see that it was not my boyfriend. Instead, it was David. The shock had my mouth parted but no sound came out. I couldn't move. I just froze. I didn't even know what was happening. "Oh my God. David. David. What are you doing?" I managed to gasp out, "Giving you what you need." He grunted back. "No." I whimpered out. I didn't pull away. I couldn't. His arms were cinched around me, holding me in place. "Nick. Where's Nick? I managed to breathe out, but all I got back were grunts. Not too loud. They might hear, he breathed out, nipping at my earlobe. I immediately tried to quiet down, scared to wake up Robert and have him find me in such a position. How did David end up in my room? Where was my boyfriend? Was he never there? Was David the one? A million questions ran through my head even as another orgasm bubbled inside me. I couldn't make heads or tails of what was happening. I couldn't help it. Why did it feel so good? You like that? He breathed out as he held my gaze. I nodded my head absent-mindedly, unable to construct words. Do you want me to stop? He asked. I shook my head again. That was enough for him. I was still high and drunk. Needy. And did he feel good? I didn't know what to say. My boyfriend's best friend, no less. While these thoughts were going through my head, I didn't realize he was leaning down until his lips pressed to mine. I found myself kissing him back without thought for a second before I pushed him away. He took the hint and slipped out of me before heading to the bathroom. I was alone. I didn't know what to do as I lay there gathering my strength. I finally moved, reaching down to pick up my shirt. I slipped them on, then slipped on my shorts and stepped out of the room quietly. I glanced down at my phone and saw messages from my boyfriend apologizing that he couldn't stay over and saying that he had reached home about 2 hours ago. I couldn't believe it. I stepped out onto the empty balcony, needing some fresh air to clear my head after what happened. My legs were still wobbly. That was when David arrived behind me, wearing only his boxers. I was shivering slightly as I turned to face him. I didn't know what to say. Whether to shout or cry. I remained silent and we simply watched each other for a moment, both still drunk and sleepy. Are you okay? He asked, breaking the silence. I thought you were Nick. We shouldn't have done that, I managed to blurt out. Did you not enjoy it? He asked, taking a step towards me. That's not the point. I have a boyfriend. Another step and he was standing in front of me, all lean and towering above me. I know. I am not asking you to leave him. Just asking if you enjoyed it, he said in a strangely calm voice. I opened my mouth but no words came out. My mind was reeling. I really enjoyed it. You're so beautiful and amazing, Bonnie. He breathed out as he continued to gently kiss my neck. Did you like it? Yes, I finally breathed out. He didn't stop. He kissed me. You feel so good, Bonnie, he whispered. This is wrong, I whispered back but didn't take my hand away. Get down on your knees. He instructed. No, not here. Robert might come out, I protested, but he pressed down on my shoulders and I succumbed, falling to my knees. He grabbed a handful of my hair, making my eyes widen with the sudden unexpected loss of control. I probably should have had some doubt, or guilt about what I was doing. I wanted to please him, to give him an experience he wouldn't forget, and seeing that I was doing so, only drenched me quicker. I fought the moment of panic when my body registered the fact that I couldn't breathe. I had done this before and I knew if I just calmed myself I could do it. Do you like me, you? He grunted into my ear between thrusts. All I could do was nod my head. Will let me you again? He asked into my ear. Again all I could do was nod. Tell me, he insisted. Yes. Yes. You can again. Whenever you want. I said in a daze. I think I should get going before Robert wakes up, he said. I nodded my head, not knowing what to say. Hey. His voice made me look up. His hand closed around mine and we moved back to the bedroom. I will see you again soon. He asked, watching me closely as he got dressed. I bit my bottom lip, before curtly nodding my head. He smiled and hugged me tightly, kissing me again before leaving. My heart was pounding, my entire body glowing. I felt unstoppably alive, like I had just awoken from the rut I was in. And it was all because of him. I closed my eyes and let the sweeping rush take hold of me. It elevated me entirely as I laid back in bed to sleep. A part of me could hardly wait to see him again. Story 3, Welcome to Secret Story. I was awakened from my deep slumber by the sound of the shower running. Looking across at the bedside clock through sleep-encrusted eyes. It read 3 a.m. Jesus, that's late to be coming home from a girls' night out, I thought, and why would Helen be taking a shower at this hour? She had never bothered in the past. After getting home from a night out with the girls that I closed my eyes and rolled back over on my side. It must have been a good 10 minutes before Helen finally slid into the bed and uncharacteristically didn't snuggle into my back. I didn't move and made out I was asleep. Of course, nature took its course, and eventually, I simply drifted back off to sleep. I knew Helen wouldn't get up early, especially since it was Saturday. I got up, went downstairs, and made myself a coffee. I sat on the patio and could not help but think about Helen's uncharacteristic behavior last night. That we had been married 5 years, and she often went out straight from work with her girlfriends from the office on a Friday night. But she had always been home around midnight or before. If I had been in bed, she would climb in and snuggle up to me. I think Helen cheated on me last night. That it was really bothering me, so I did something I had never done before or never had reason to do. I looked through her phone for evidence of a meetup with a guy. I was relieved when I found nothing, so I decided I was overthinking it and headed upstairs to brush my teeth after breakfast. I quietly headed to the ensuite bathroom and closed the door. Helen was still sleeping, and I didn't want to wake her. As I brushed my teeth, I saw the laundry basket in the mirror. Turning, I saw the dress Helen had worn to work yesterday sitting on top. Curiosity got the better of me, and I picked the dress up. Nothing out of the ordinary. I started pulling all the clothes out, looking for her, finding them pushed right down the bottom of the basket. I grabbed them, and instantly, my heart sank. They were soaking wet. Opening them up, I saw what I had dreaded most. I felt betrayed, let down, and jealous, which turned to anger, which made me feel sick. I shoved them in my pocket and headed back downstairs. I would make her sweat bullets, wondering what happened to them when she went to do the laundry, and I knew she would try to do it as soon as she got out of bed. If she is cheating on me, she would want to hide it. After lunch, Helen walked into the kitchen with the laundry basket in her arms on her way to the laundry. If nothing else, she was predictable. So, I sat and waited to see her reaction. It was only minutes before Helen came out of the laundry, looking somewhat anxious. Racing past me back upstairs while she frantically raced around, retracing her movements, looking for the soiled, I calmly placed them on the fridge door with a fridge magnet and waited. When she walked back into the kitchen and saw them hanging there on the fridge, the look on her face was priceless. She snatched them from the fridge, sending the magnet flying. It's funny how people react and they feel guilty about something, I said as she stormed into the laundry. I followed her to question her more, knowing full well she would deny it. So, who did you? And how long has it been going on? I have no idea what you are talking about, Brett. I didn't sleep anyone. Oh, you go someone. Do you think I'm stupid? You come home at 3 in the morning and take a shower. All your clothes are on the top of the basket, but you're in the bottom. That's not suspicious at all. Brett. Do I ask you what you have been doing when you go out with your friends and give you the third degree? You are starting to piss me off. The guilty always get pissed off when they have been caught out. As I said, I'm not an idiot. You're a Azrahole. You know that, don't you? You couldn't just mind your own business. You come in here accusing me of someone else. You had to keep pushing the point. Thank you for finally being honest with me. So, I suggest you go pack your bags and get the out of my house. If you are going to be an arsehole about it. Just so you know, all those other times when I was talking about other guys, it wasn't fantasy talk. I have been cuckolding you for ages. I was simply describing my latest conquest while giving you sloppy seconds. And secondly, it's our house, and I'm not going anywhere. Why don't you move out if it bothers you so much? I could feel my blood starting to boil. She was actually telling me it wasn't the first time. It had been multiple times, then tried to justify her action. And make me out to be the bad guy. I walked out before I did something I would regret, like punch her right in the face. I grabbed a few beers from the fridge and sat on the patio. Wondering what I was going to do. A couple hours and about 8 beers later, I heard the car reverse out of the garage. By the time I got out the front, Helen was driving away down the street. 12 beers in, I was sitting outside drowning my sorrows when the front doorbell rang. I yelled that I didn't know who it was, but I didn't want to see anyone right now. But they kept on ringing the damn bell. Reluctantly I got up and stumbled to the door. Those beers really starting to hit home. Opening the door, Meredith, Helen's mother, was standing there dressed in a super outfit like she was going on a date. Meredith had just turned 50, and she looked like a glamour model. She was stunning. During the first Gulf conflict, Helen's father was killed in action, and Meredith never remarried. After Wes had died, she threw herself into work and now owns and runs a very successful real estate business. Look, Meredith, whatever you have to say, I'm not interested. If Helen wants to talk to me, she can come home and do it herself. She doesn't need to send her mother around to do her dirty work. I have nothing to say to you, so just leave me alone, I said before walking away, leaving her standing in the doorway. Brett, I have no idea what the hell you are talking about. I'm here to pick Helen up. She is my date for the real estate annual gala mystery auction tonight. What the hell is going on? Ask your daughter. She is the one that can't keep her legs closed. Brett, I have no idea what's going on, but can you please stop being so damn cryptic and tell me where Helen is, please? If I had to guess, Meredith, I would say on her back with her legs spread. Meredith grabbed me by the arm and turned me around. Brett, I can see you are very upset right now, but can you please tell me what's going on? I'm getting quite upset with how you are acting. Fine, do you want a beer? I asked. No, and I'm not sure you really need another either. Why don't you put the beers back in the fridge? Come sit down and tell me what has made you so upset. Fine, but I'm keeping the beers. Meredith followed me out to the patio. I could see Meredith mentally taking note of all the empty bottles scattered around. Sitting down, I cracked another one and started talking. I gave Meredith the entire story, even the part about our fantasy bedroom talk, turning out not to be fantasy talk but reality. I'm not sure what to say, Brett. I can't believe Helen would do such things as you described. Of course not. You're her mother. Of course, you would take her side and not believe me, I said, feeling pissed off. Wait just a minute, you are assuming I don't believe you. I never said that. What I said was, I can't believe my little of a daughter would do that to you. Brett, it shouldn't come as any surprise, but I have always thought you to be a fantastic son-in-law. If you remember, I remarked you were too good for Helen on your wedding day. She has always been a handful. What, really? You aren't siding with Helen? God no, I know my daughter isn't perfect, but I never expected her to stoop as low as to cheat on you. That's unforgivable. I never expected that. I thought you would surely try to justify her actions or something. Absolutely not. If what you say is true and I have no reason to think it isn't, my opinion stands. And she needs to know that's not how you treat your husband. I might have that beer now if you don't mind, Brett. I thought you were going to a gala. You can't get dressed up and look that incredible and not let the world see you. Oh, Brett darling, you are always so sweet to me, but I hardly think anyone is interested in an old lady like me. And hearing what my daughter has done, I'm not really in the mood anymore to be social. Now it might have been all the beer talking the reason for what I said next, but I'm not sorry for 1 second. Are you kidding, Meredith? You are one of the most beautiful and sexiest women I have ever met. And I know this probably doesn't sound very nice, but you are way than Helen. Helen is good-looking, but she pales in comparison to you. You have no idea how often I have jerked off thinking about you in the years I have known you." There was a really long and awkward silence. Meredith was just staring at me, so stunned by my confession. I don't think she knew what to say. I was pretty wasted, but I was conscious enough to realize I had just overstepped the boundaries of my son-in-law and mother-in-law relationship. Meredith got up and grabbed a beer out of the six-pack. She opened it and necked the entire contents. Looked at me and said, "I know I'm going to regret this." Meredith held out her hand to me. I took it, and she pulled me out of the chair. We were now standing facing each other, just staring into each other's eyes. "You have really jerked off thinking about me?" "Absolutely, yes, ma'am. I have had the hots for you since I first met you. I was thinking about that night while Helen and I were at your house. And we got a bit loud, and you were banging on the wall. I'm sorry, I know that's totally inappropriate. Even with all the beers under my belt, I suddenly had a raging hard-on." "I'm sorry," Meredith, kissing me. "That's the hottest compliment anyone has paid me for years. And if you don't mind me saying, it feels rather nice and big. Is there any chance I might get to see it one day?" I grabbed Meredith around the waist, put one arm under her, carrying her into the bedroom. "Oh my lord, Brett, are you sure you can hold me? You have had a bit to drink. I'm positive you weigh nothing." Famous last words, never further from the truth. Meredith's shoes clipping the bedroom door frame sent me into a drunken wobble across the room. Eventually, we both crashed onto the bed. "Oh, good save, mister," Meredith laughed. It was then I realized how much different she was from her daughter. Had that been Helen, she would have been shitty, and the whole moment would have ended in an argument. Meredith rolled onto her side and looked at me before saying, "Brett, this might be where I leave you. You're in bed now, and as much as I want this, I can't. And I want to because God knows I haven't been laid in a couple years. But Helen is still my daughter, and two wrongs don't make a right." Meredith slid off the bed and began to walk away, but I jumped up and grabbed her from behind. I felt her body tense as I pulled her arms behind her back, restraining her by the wrists. "Oh, Brett, we really shouldn't. It's wrong. Please let me go before we both make a horrible mistake. The only mistake I made was marrying your daughter instead of you. I have wanted you since the first day I saw you." "Oh, Brett, is that true? Have you really wanted me?" "Why me, though? I'm old, no one wants an old widow like me." "I want you, Meredith. But tonight, I'm not asking, I'm taking what I want." "Oh, Brett, yes, take me, take mama baby, stop complaining. I told you I was taking what's mine and you are mine now, Meredith, do you understand, what the Brett? Who the is that? And why is mom's car in the drive, turning around?" I saw Helen standing in the doorway, her hands on her hips, her face all twisted in anger. I simply smiled. "Payback is a bitch, baby. Next time you think it's okay to around behind my back, you might want to think again because if you can do it, so can I." "You're welcome." It was beautiful to watch as the penny dropped. Helen realized the woman beginning to stir was her mother, Meredith. "Mom, what the have you done? How could you do this to me?" She screamed as Meredith, still groggy, rolled over and sat up. The question should be, how could you not want to your husband? The man me to unconsciousness. Why the hell would you ever need more than that? Copyright 2024, all rights reserved. No part of this story can be reproduced in any form or by any electronic or mechanical means without written permission from the author. All characters are fictitious, and any similarity to actual people, living or dead, events, or locales is entirely coincidental unless otherwise stated. Dear friends, thank you very much for watching. Leave comments, put likes, share with friends and subscribe to the channel.